The boroughs are New York City. The burbs are everywhere else. Real estate is the ultimate game of risk and reward. It's the biggest investment most people ever make. Fortunes are made over a lifetime and lost in a day. And we're not playing with Monopoly money. How do you stay ahead? Who's buying? Who's selling? And why? What do they know? We want the truth. You need an edge. Boroughs and Burbs is your secret weapon, giving you the insider knowledge and strategies you need to succeed in the high-stakes world of real estate. From Palm Beach to Palm Springs, Manhattan to Malibu, we press the experts to expose the pain, find the deals, and occasionally predict the future. That's Boroughs and Burbs, Thursdays, 3 o'clock Eastern, noon Pacific. Because everyone can make money in real estate.
Welcome, everybody. Boroughs and Burbs, episode 161. I'm your host, John Engel, and I am joined by my partner in New York City.
Roberto Cabrera. I am in New York City, one of the other fabulous world destinations.
I stepped on you. What's your name again?
Roberto Cabrera, brown hair Stevens.
All right, that's good. So here we are, boroughsandburbs.com. And I want to first thank our sponsor, gracefarms.org. And this is their Design for Freedom initiative, where they are helping the design and home building industry design for a more humane future. You can learn more about that at designforfreedom.org. Without further ado, we've got two guests today, the leadership of Knight Frank in Dubai. And we've got, let's see, boom, David Schmidt, associate partner, announced in May of this year, and he runs off-plan residential project sales in Dubai. And that is a good looking picture of David Schmidt. Yeah, and there is Petri Mannila.
Yes.
Say correct. Again.
Petri.
Announced only last month, September, leading Knight Frank's luxury home business in the UAE. Very excited. Read all about you at consultancy-me.com. I started reading about this. Rich people to spend $4.4 billion on luxury Dubai homes. Roberto and I are huge fans of the Knight Frank Wealth Report every year. And every year they talk about the Dubai market. Yeah. So I am so glad to have you talking about the Dubai ultra luxury market. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome, David.
Thank you very much, John. Thank you for having us. It's great also to be able to share the 15 years that Knight Frank and Douglas Elliman have just celebrated working in partnership. So seems like a nice fit to be on your show, talking about the place that we love.
Trying to find the picture. Okay, why don't you tell us how you came, because both of you just joined the team or were just promoted in the last few months. So why the change? Is this a new thing for Knight Frank? I had the impression that Knight Frank's been there a while.
Yeah, well, indeed. I mean, I actually I joined once I finished university in 2005, I was actually selling luxury investment property in Dubai out of the UK. So the market is very well known to me. For a long period of time, I've seen Dubai's inception when it first started, the various waves over the last nearly 20 years. And what I was doing sort of for the last decade was selling investment property in the UK, but based out of Dubai. But of course, it's hard to miss just the appeal to be selling in such a hot marketplace, such incredible developments that are coming up, and there's so much demand from all over the world. It just made sense for me to go back to my roots, if you like, and sell what I love that's on my doorstep.
And you've been living there for at least the last 10 years?
9 years actually, just celebrated. So yeah, brilliant place to live, brilliant place to work, and you'd have me kicking and screaming going back to live in the UK. So very well settled and happy here.
Is it expensive for a regular guy like you or me to live in Dubai?
I think, the way things are globally nowadays, no matter where you are in the world in a big city, it's not cheap if you want to live a certain lavish lifestyle, but for the ordinary Joe that isn't maybe going out every weekend and having drinks and spending above their means, it's fine. It is affordable. Certainly the housing side of things, which we'll get into, is affordable. But yeah, it's good salaries, it's tax free, and Dubai's home to many people from many different backgrounds and financial capability who all live in harmony and enjoy it.
Can I ask you a question? Just to can you give us a real short summary? Because one of the things you said was since its inception, which is always kind of like it's an ancient place, but really Dubai kind of is a new city in some ways, right?
Yeah.
And you're talking about it's 20 some years really since it's really started to just talk to us a little bit about how that came about and just what's happened.
Sure. So the reality is, at the start of this century, I think Dubai sort of reflected on itself and realized that oil is going to be running out at some point in the not too distant future, and it needs to diversify and have other revenue streams that it's self-generating. And with the vision of Sheikh Mohammed, he wanted to build effectively the best city in the world. And one of the earliest things he did was to open up the ability for foreigners to purchase freehold property here. And that was just over 20 years ago. So for the first time ever, foreigners could actually buy and own freehold property in the Emirate. So that led to sort of the first cycle, if you like, in the early to mid 2000s of people wanting to buy property. Dubai is within 4-hour flight of 25% of the world's population, over 2 billion people. So it's strategically located, right in the heart of the Middle East, Europe and Africa and Asia, so close by. It's positioned itself incredibly as, a very forward-thinking, inclusive part of the world that, people are very happy to call home now. So it's encouraged people. He said, build it and they will come. And that's certainly what's happened.
So that was in 2002 that changed. So everything I just showed on the screen has been pretty much since 2002.
Yeah, I mean, some of those, even in the last decade, they build things so quickly. So yeah, it is absolutely remarkable what has been achieved in such a short period of time. They build towers in 2-3 years, whereas, if we go back to, say, the UK, where I'm from, and I'm sure it's the same in the States, it might be stuck in red tape for 5 or 10 years, to get things out of the ground. So it's very much a forward-thinking, can-do environment, which I think resonates with a lot of people nowadays.
So Petri, I want to pull up this, and I want your take. The whole on the whole, how rich do you have to be question. The articles all focus on magnet for the rich. And when I dig deeper, this chart shows that in Dubai, 2 to 5 million is a category, 5 to 7 is a category, $7 to $10 million is a category. But what's eye-popping about this is the 10 to 15 or more than $15 million category. And it goes on to say global high net worth individuals cite Dubai's high quality infrastructure as the top factor that makes the Emirate an attractive place for real estate investment. So the market really starts at $2 million. Is that true, Petri?
Well, not actually. You know, the average price value here in Dubai is actually only 1,500 dirhams per square foot, which is only let's say $400 per square foot. But the strongest growing market segment certainly is this ultra high net worth, and actually the properties what we are looking now more than investments are more than $10 million and above. That market segment has 20-folded in the past 5 years, and that is quite remarkable. So a number, and now, like you said, you mentioned this our very famous and desirable wealth report. We are seeing a huge growth of ultra high net worth interest here in the Dubai coming years. This year we are expecting plus 6,700 millionaires net to move in Dubai, but the biggest growth on the interest is actually people that are planning to buy properties over $50 million price level.
And where are most of those people coming from? Is it from everywhere, or is it primarily coming from India, from Europe?
Well, it has been, of course, you know, traditionally the GCC countries and India, UK being in the top places. Then, of course, you know, in the past few years back, you know, because due to the unfortunate political situation in Russia and Ukraine, there was a huge influx of buyers from Russian countries. But now, you know, past 2 to 3 years, it's been that this world and economical situation in Europe and in the US, it's really a lot of people flowing in, coming in from Europe, and now also with the interest coming from the US as well.
Are these people who are buying investment properties, buying pied-à-terres, or are these people that are actually like immigrating into the country?
Well, of course, our research and what we look at this potential buyer here, you know, of course, you know, like over 60% are looking to buy from an investment perspective. But it's like a lot of people are investing, having this type of a wealth. You know, this always has to be a you know, you have to be based on the good investment, but there's a growing number of people really relocating here, and they are transferring their business with them. So a lot of large corporations opening their headquarters and settling here for good, and that's a really like a we see at the growth of the Dubai population, you know, it's we have this estimation in 2040, it's growing up to the 7.8 million, which is meaning like let's say around 60 to 70% growth. So almost a 5% growth per annually growth, and that drives and that tells you a little bit of the direction of the market, how it is going. So this is totally unusual market in a whole global scale.
Do you have the inventory to sell?
No, that is so funny. This is the lucky, and so we are lucky in the life being here in the Dubai at this time. Actually, we are estimating that in the next 16 years, if those estimated the growth of the population will be true, we will have the shortage of the supply for the next 16 years. This is how the city and the Emirates and the countries is growing in such a speed, and based on these people moving in.
So what sort of price growth or escalation are you seeing?
Well, it has been tremendous past few 3-4 years in a price growth wise, and now we hit in apartments just in the last month we crossed the 2014 price levels on the apartments, and the villas we are in villas we have reached already the 2014 previous peaks, and we are now around 28% above those in prices per square foot on the villas. For the next year, on the 25, we are expecting a 10 to 15% price increase on the market in average. And it's I think, you know, in all independent market researches, you know, Dubai property market is one of the having the strongest growth expectations.
Why in 2020 does the trajectory start and go and move so steeply on prices? The rest of the world experienced COVID, of course. Was COVID the driver? Is this an
Yes.
economic driver? Because you do not charge income tax. So I could see that being a major reason why corporations and wealthy individuals would move to Dubai. But what caused the sudden explosion in 2020?
Well, it was exactly the Corona, COVID period, and actually, you know, it started with the government handling very well the whole situation and opening up in very early stages. So this, together with all this economic situation in the world, you know, started this boom. After this 7 year of let's say the steady downhill, the market really turned up, and the growth has been tremendous since.
Hey, John.
Yes.
Eric Meyer. I'd just love to give a little bit of perspective for you, because as you know, I've been in New Canaan since 1998, and I've been going to Dubai really since then. I have these guys will know I've got a JV with the Dubai Multi-Commodity Center. And I've also got a company with one of the families up in Abu Dhabi at the Abu Dhabi General Markets. And just my perspective coming from New Canaan here for the last 24 years is what both gentlemen have said back to leadership, right? The leadership at a federal level in Abu Dhabi and Dubai. The rulers have vision, and they have the resources and the commitment to drive that vision. Everything in my world is about leadership, and the founders of the country really wanted to make Dubai a central hub between, I guess, call it Singapore and London here, business hub. And what I have seen is the attention to an incredible infrastructure. Emirates, you know, the airline, right? You can't build in Dubai without Emirates Airlines. It flies more places all over the world, as I'm sure these gentlemen will tell you, that's an incredible hub spot, right? So I can jump on any plane in New York and get there, and just about anywhere. That's what you need for a big infrastructure. The rulers have built an incredible, as you see, infrastructure here, right? Now it's getting a little crowded because of the people, but their image was originally going back was, can they make a oasis for you know, for the leading investors, the leading families, whether it's in India, Europe, right, as a backup. Initially, it started kind of, I would say, as a secondary base. If you're a African a company, an Indian company, European, you know, you would set up your secondary base there. Now it's becoming primary, as both of these gentlemen have said here, right? Because of it's got incredible infrastructure. Us Yanks are the only dummies in the world that haven't figured out that we get taxed on worldwide income, right? So there aren't as many, you know, it's like why I haven't moved there. It's because they'll tax me there, right? Doesn't matter if I'm there or here. But for the rest of the world, John, it's significant if you move to Dubai, you know, and you know, if you have a treaty, which most of the countries have, you're not taxed. It's genius. It really is genius.
Can I ask you a question? The draw seems obvious now in some ways, but you predate this explosion in '98. What drew you there then?
I don't mean to say follow the money, but I've been in finance a long time. I had some relationships there. I was into Islamic finance, one of the few guys on Wall Street to do that. And so as a result, it was a choice of, believe it or not, Manama, which is Bahrain at the time, which was actually stronger back in '98 because of its banking regulations, or Dubai. And I was lucky enough, fortunate enough to have a relationship with what's called the Dubai Multi-Commodity Center, which is one of the big free zones that, you know, I chose to set it up in Dubai. And just briefly, it's your show, but to say, when I got there, all that stuff that you see, those pictures, did not really exist, right? None of it existed back in early 2000s. All of this has been created because of the vision of the rulers, and my hat's off to them for seeing a need for incredible tax haven, resource rich. If you didn't have Emirates Airlines, if you didn't have that incredible infrastructure, if you didn't have that high-end, ultra-high-net hotel destination, right? They're one of the largest tourist draws now in the world. 27, 28 million people go there to summer. And if you went back 20 years, you'd say they're going to go summer in a Muslim nation that has no infrastructure. People would have told you were mad, but they have vision. And the thing that my hat's off to both gentlemen here is, you know, we're here, whether it's Manhattan or New Canaan, when I choose one day to sell my house and retire, move on, I've got to, we don't have 5 to 7% more people coming into New Canaan or into Manhattan for that, right? You know, and so I always tease my partners there because they tell me how strong they are in real estate, which they are, right? The families. But I say you have an unfair advantage, which is why I should have been so smart to own property there, because as long as the magic of Dubai holds, which is this incredible ultra high net worth ease of use, how can prices not go up if you have 5 to 7% more people coming into your domain year after year? Now they have to keep the infrastructure going, right? But as long as they do that, prices can only, in my mind, supply and demand. 5 to 7% more people arriving that are ultra high net worth. That's why that market's going to continue to do so well.
Yeah, it's interesting one. And to add a bit of color to that, Eric, you know, it's still incredibly affordable on a global scale.
Mm-hmm.
I know we touched upon our wealth report earlier, John, but we also do a yearly publication just on Dubai called Destination Dubai, which everyone can download from our website and go through, and goes into granular detail on a variety of things about the Dubai property market.
Is this it?
No, that's just a brief residential market review we do quarterly.
Okay.
But we do something that's quite interesting where we look at prices globally and what $1 million can buy you around the world. And that would get you 980 square foot of property in Dubai. But you compare it to the States, that gets you 409 square foot in LA, 366 square foot in New York. If we're talking globally, 237 in Hong Kong, 344 in Singapore, and 355 in London. So there's a long, long way for it to go before it's getting to a stage where people internationally think it's actually expensive, because it's not. And if you compare it to, say, and I know it's Monaco, but if you compare it to Monaco, which is tax-free, you get 172 square foot. So actually the value for money resonates with people around the world.
Should we talk about where in Dubai yet? Because when I see these maps and these overheads, I see skyscrapers. And yet when I read your reports about the amenities that are important to people buying, they talk about parks, they talk about golf, they talk about malls, they talk about professional sports, they talk about all these other things.
Dining, don't forget, they're all foodies.
Yeah.
So talk to me, and I'll pull up this map while you're talking, and talk to me about trying to understand, you know, where to start. Here's a map that you published with Dubai Marina and meadows and islands and the Palm. talk to me about some of these places and why they are so hot.
Okay, if I can take a little bit from here. So the Palm Jumeirah is the most world famous destination to settle for the secondary homes or even for the permanent homes. So the large part of the prime residential transactions are happening in the Palm Jumeirah.
Okay.
So the Palm Jumeirah offers you from both from the penthouses perspective and also the single villas with the beachfront access. And the pricing, you know, we can find everything up to $300 million units in the single private residential units in the Palm Jumeirah.
And on the chart to the right, it's the darkest green, which means it's the most expensive, right?
Yes, but this is a little bit not even telling the truth here. Here, you know, because the price segments are a little bit on the lower scale. Actually, in a Palm Jumeirah, we go up to the 15,000 dirhams per square foot, which makes a little bit around $4,000 per square foot.
Okay.
So that's kind of the level where we are in a Palm Jumeirah. Then we have a lot of prominent. So you have something more you want to ask about Palm Jumeirah before we move to the other communities?
No, but it's clearly creme de la creme, right? That's the top of the heap.
Yeah, exactly, and it's well known. You know, the place, one of the well-known places here in Dubai. You know, that the only island that can be seen from space. You know, having the Atlantis water parks, having the hundreds of restaurants, 5-star restaurants, having those beach access, beach clubs and everything. So that's an easy place to choose, and a lot of foreigners are moving in. You know, they are choosing the Palm Jumeirah for their first.
Can you give us a sense of scale of that? Like one of the inside, one of the branches that comes off, for example, like how is that a kilometer long? Is it longer than that? Is it a mile?
Yeah, it is approximately. They all in different of sizes. It goes, let's say, from 1 kilometer, 1 mile around here and there. It's a little bit shorter and a little bit longer. So we have 16 of those what we call here fronts, having these private villas, and that is the one place actually to be nowadays.
From a standpoint of living, the people who live here, do they pretty much stay there, or do they come into the mainland?
Actually, the Palm Jumeirah is pretty much of its own community. So we have there everything what you basically need for your everyday living. We have nowadays a few years back we opened the Nakheel Mall, having all the shops and groceries and doctor stations, medical stations, everything. So when you are really living in your villa in a Palm Jumeirah, you really don't need to go to mainland. And especially, you know, the downtown, you know, the Burj Khalifa district, you know, it's pretty much on, let's say, an opposite of the Dubai world. So you have people who are more like living and being based on either on the downtown district or then on the Palm and the Marina district, and the life are pretty much divided in between those two.
Is this the Burj district? You said downtown. That's over here.
Yeah, exactly, where you have the downtown market, and that's where the Burj Khalifa is located. Okay. And then we have a business bay there.
I'm sorry, can I just interrupt to augment, guys, because it's all about service, right? Dubai is all about service. So if you live on the Palm, right, as these gentlemen will tell you, you don't even have to go to the gas station, right? You can have someone go and fill your car up, you know, in your garage, in your villa. The world that I deal with or do that, it's all about service. They don't understand when we come here, you know, Eric, where's your help? And I say, you're looking at it, right? You know, and you say, you got 5 kids and no help. I say, that's how my wife is. Wouldn't want it any other way here, right? Where there, it's a different mindset. It's just a different culture that appeals to this milieu where you go to Dubai for extreme service, and comfort, right? And when you're an ultra high net worth individual, if you can order your prescriptions your doctor comes to you, right? Everybody in Dubai, its service will come to you. It's an eco center unto its own, where I see ultimately the future going, where everything that you need can be provided to you. If you don't want to leave, you don't have to. Now, they always go out for dinner and foodies all over. That's the big thing. But the value proposition, as I see it, is for ultra high net worth, if that's the discussion, is absolute the best service I've ever seen in the world.
Yeah, agreed.
Second to that.
Okay,
So-
so walk me through some of the other choices besides the Burj and the Palm.
Yes, and then one of the favorite areas are nowadays the Jumeirah Bay Islands, which we also call by the name of Bulgari Island, because of a Bulgari hotel and resort being on that island, and the Bulgari residences. So this is being a little bit hidden behind these numbers. The
Over here?
pricing, yeah, it's here, and there is the most expensive addresses in the Dubai, where the prices just recently hit 17,000 dirhams per
Are they these little tiny islands or these big?
No,
That's the
this is the-
archipelago.
They're John, just right off the coast. You got to come right in.
Okay.
So this is the world islands are the new upcoming
That's the
area
future.
in the future, in the coming years. But the
Okay.
Bulgari Islands, the Jumeirah Bay Island, is just behind these price brackets. We cannot see that exactly.
Okay.
So what about that archipelago that's up there on the north, or right there?
Yes, that's the one of the famous project that was launched again 20 years back, and had been living the life slowly cooking, and now it's been gaining a lot of traction, and there's the most beautiful new projects being launched there in the past few years, and it's kind of a Maldives in the Dubai. Kind of a living, so you can easily have a villa there in a 5-star resort, and take your boat, and in 15 minutes you are in the mainland and shopping in the world's largest malls.
Got it.
So-
What else is there to do? I read about golf courses, marina, and beach. So where do you spend your leisure time besides eating?
Yeah, exactly. Also, almost answering it. We are eating, so we are eating and having brunches and dinners. Golf is, of course, everything. But in Dubai, basically, you can do everything. We have racetracks, we have opera venues, we have art galleries. I mean, there's so plenty of different entertainments, and I think that's very important also for all the residents here.
But so if you're on the Palm and you want to go play golf, where do you go? Do you have to drive quite a distance? Is it outside? Is it to the south of all that map that we saw, or
5 minutes away, 10 minutes away,
exactly,
literally.
wow?
You come off the Palm, and you
Right
just go inland, probably a couple of kilometers, if that, and you're there.
It's guys. I play there. Yeah, it's very convenient. Very, very convenient.
Can we talk about competition, for example, for a second? So I read you had talked about that they had allowed foreigners to buy, and that was specifically in Dubai. I hear that just to is it north or maybe east, there's a city called Sharjah where they just started allowing investors to buy there as well. Are people going there? And also, did I read something that Saudi is trying to create their own Dubai? And is that something that's of any concern?
So when it comes to other emirates, so Dubai is one of the 7 emirates. Sharjah is another one. Ras Al Khaimah is, developing as well. there's room to grow. You know, this is a very small country, and you know what Dubai has done in 20 years, Abu Dhabi's doing as well with development going on. People come back to Dubai, and less so places like Sharjah. When it comes to Saudi, that is on an enormous scale with the government's intentions to diversify its sector. Obviously, they've seen what's happened with the UAE over the last 20 years. There is a phenomenal amount of planned construction and ongoing construction to cope with increased demand, particularly in Riyadh, and the giga projects that are going on, the ecotourism on the coast of Saudi Arabia as well. So it's very much not in competition. They will complement each other, much in the same way that, Paris and Barcelona would. It's no real different to that.
Okay. Good answer.
Thank you. I've spent a lot of time in Riyadh over the last decade as well. So I can see what's going on there and, the vision, and certainly they've got the financial capability to really improve, the housing situation and it as a destination. You've only got to look at the sporting events already over the last few years with the boxing, with soccer, with golf, tennis, you name it. Saudi are getting involved in a lot of things going on globally. And yeah, they're going to create a fantastic city with Riyadh and other areas of the kingdom as well.
When I look at all real estate is about scarcity. And when I look at this, I thought, well, wait a minute, there's no scarcity because the desert stretches forever and there's always going to be more real estate. But when I look at this map, I see that you've got you've got a couple of these palm developments, but there's a limited amount of coastal real estate. And so can you talk to me about scarcity? Because it looks like the coast is what's important. It's a major draw, and that it's already well developed, and all of the most expensive projects are on the coast. True?
It's a good point to make. But one thing I think that's important to mention is when Dubai first started developing and selling projects, everything was almost from the coastline backwards. And already you had an existing stock of property that locals would live in that weren't for foreigners to purchase. They weren't designated areas for freehold. But what we've seen is over the last 20 years, developers have land banked various big plots of land further inland. Now, of course, you can't create huge master planned villa communities with thousands of villas in areas as densely populated, next door to the marina, let's say. So a lot of the slightly more inland locations are getting the most incredible villa communities. So more space, more greenery, all the things that people actually value, yet still within 20, 30 minutes drive to all the main business centers of Dubai, tourist attractions, to the coast. So everything is actually really well managed from the infrastructure point of view, as you mentioned, was so important. So yes, waterfront property, of course, anywhere where you are in the world will be prime and attract certain people, but we still have more inland locations that are, either classed as prime or certainly will be doing once they're ready.
And what's the draw to those inland properties? Most of these have water behind them, most of the sexy aerial images.
Yeah, absolutely. But you've got to think of the makeup of the people living here. So 20 years ago, let's say you're getting people in the 20s and 30s that moved into an apartment that was what they knew, space, that was effectively what was being built. So they lived there. Nowadays, we're seeing people who live here settle. They get a little bit older. They're here with families. They're putting down roots. They want more space. They want 3, 4, 5, 6 bedroom property. And you need to look at the master communities with all the facilities which are being built slightly inland. So yes, you might not have the coast on your doorstep, but you know, you've got a mall, you've got greenery, you've got parks, you have got water that they will build and put in, and lakes and things like that. So when it comes to the sort of range and typography of the types of properties that Dubai are putting in, it's a huge mix to cater for all the demand from all corners of the world.
Are there?
I just
It seems
interrupt,
very
guys,
dense.
or just what I thought of when I started. Getting a visa was very hard. You had to have a work visa, you know, 2 years renew. There's this whole concept of this whole the vision of the rulers, golden visa, as these guys will talk to you about here. Another big thing was when you were 65, right? They would typically, in the old days, you finished work, you had to move home. They had this vision of allowing foreigners basically to stay for as long as they wished. Dubai's really been a leader in this whole concept of, as both gentlemen said, freehold to allow them. But this is really the game changers, because I've known, you know, expats there for 20 years. When they were 65, they really had to move home because there was no health care for them system per se, right? And to say that was encouraged. Now the encouragement is, if you want to stay and make Dubai your secondary home, your third home, or your primary home, you're welcomed. It's really, really unusual in that part of the world.
Yeah, and nowadays we started to issue these golden visas, which are valid for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And the golden visa comes, let's say, for free. For example, when you're purchasing a property of value, let's say, a little north of $500,000, and the golden visa comes not only for yourself but for your family as well. And this also, the same golden visa goes also for highly educated professionals, doctors, teachers, etc. So it's really opening doors for different type of people, and for the longer stay here in the future.
Can I ask you? So hold on, John. Sorry. Is there a suburban market? For example, someone who
I was going to ask the same thing. Because David was saying it's not just about apartment living, and I started to pull up some of these images of houses, and what you're saying is inland houses are the next big thing.
I mean, I live in a villa I'm talking to you from now. I mean, it's a little bit more modest than the one you've got on the screen, but you know, it's perfect for me and my family and my dog. You know, we've got garden. We're 2 minutes to the communal lake. I can walk around in the evening. 10 minutes from the small mall we've got and the gym. It's perfect.
But so where are you? Where are you in relation to the city? Are you south, or are you?
Yeah, so I'm in an area called the Springs. So if you were to get the map up you had before, it's 10-15 minutes to the entrance of the Palm by car, which is nothing. You know, marina in 10-15 minutes. So
and you live in a community with, like, you know, you see you know, gym down the street, and you know that kind of thing.
Well, it's more sort of master planned in that you'd have. So yeah, it's just south of the Palm. There, CM, where it says Emirates Hills, it's just below that. So Springs 14 you've got there. So there's 15 types of springs. Yeah, just here. Each spring has its own gated security. There's sort of rows of like 2, 3, 4 bedroom, almost semi-detached houses with their own garden, backyard. You know, you can just walk to one of the many lakes that are there. There's a minute away, walk the dog. You know, it's peaceful. And as you get a little bit older, you know, you don't necessarily want apartment living and to have, you know, the nightlife and everything on your doorstep. You just want to go to work and then come home and switch off. And this is perfect for it. So yeah, there's huge types of areas like this, and this is a lot where a lot of the demand is nowadays, and what developers are bringing to the market to cater to the end users, the owner occupiers that want to be there.
It looks like they're building as fast as they can in your neighborhood.
Yeah, I think that's quite an old, and maybe an old image, because most of it's done it's all done where I am. But yeah, it needs to be. The demand is high. You know, rents have been increasing. It's
Can we just talk about
Place
what,
people
like,
wanna
just
live.
the finished product of what these will end up being that were on the screen? Those are 3-bedroom, 2,500 square foot places. Is that what those are?
For the ones on the street view you just showed.
Yeah, that we just to have an idea.
Yeah. That's around about fair. Yeah.
And a price point would be what?
For a 3-bedroom, you're probably looking 3-4 million dirham.
Mm.
I mean, this is
which
Jumeirah
is
Park.
guys, which is like $1 million and change, right, on the conversion.
Yeah, this would be a bit more this particular community because it's a slight notch up from where I am. But you know, it's all full, all with, you know, waiting lists of people if they came on the market. They're very desirable, big, spacious parking. Very much like the suburbia you think of in the States. No different.
It's just a little hotter. That's all in the summer.
A little bit hotter, yes.
Wow.
And guys, this is all master plan. When you have a leadership that's the rulers that are forward looking, all of this is master plan. None of this is arbitrary. This whole process is built out by developers that have deep relations with the government, right? Because if you're going to build a country, you're going to work with the people that, you know, have provided for you. So if you're a local family and you continue to excel at providing value, you get more and more opportunity. So that's really how it works.
Can I point out that we've talked about infrastructure. They made a concerted decision to allow foreign investment, and they put in the infrastructure. We talked about the airports. We talked about the airlines. We talked about the master plan.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know, but this week in America, we've got an election coming up. And so I have to say that, you know, a lot of anxiety. When we did the France show, Roberto, they said that after the election, 50% of everybody in America is going to be bummed out and they're going to start buying properties overseas. So number one, I'd like to know, are you counting on a bunch of wealthy Americans to come over after next week's election, regardless of who wins? And can you talk about the political situation, the political stability that allows, because it's got to be more than just infrastructure. You got to provide a long-term confidence to investors that their investment is safe. So talk to me about the attitude.
Well, you know, I from leaving the UK 9 years ago, you know, I can, and certain voting decisions that have happened and certain governments that have been in, you know, I'm sure people in the US can, you know, relate with various decisions that the public sometimes makes aren't always the best decisions in the long run. You know, the good thing with here is, you know, you've got effectively a leadership that treats their country almost like a business that they've got a vested interest in. So you haven't got the uncertainty of elections and things like that. I mean, that said, you know, our currency is pinned to the dollar. You know, whenever there's fiscal policy changes, it trickles down here. But it isn't just the States where, you know, there's going to be repercussions. Obviously, in the UK, we had the change of government a few months ago. Tomorrow's going to be the first budget of the Labour leadership, and everyone expects incredibly high taxes, the wealthy getting taxed. But yeah, all the signs are internationally that people with wealth are going to be leaving a number of the countries that they reside in, because it makes sense if they're that wealthy to look for alternative solutions. And of course, the UAE has, you know, safest city in the world, amazing healthcare, amazing education, sunshine. Why wouldn't people want to move here?
So you're the beneficiary. Every time we have a controversial election or a war or anything going wrong somewhere in the world, they look, oh, Dubai, that's a safe place. I think I can go there.
The interesting thing is that, you know, in this region particularly, which of course, you know, is internationally renowned as being, you know, politically unstable and has been for a while, Dubai is carefully positioned itself as being, if you like, the safe haven here. So whenever there is conflict, wealth does find a way to come here to be seen safe, be it in assets. After the Russia-Ukraine war, that was when that first started, same thing happened again. So I think it's not so much, Dubai, deliberately attracting these people. It's just people with money and access to information just see it as the sensible place. And I can't blame them.
I'm going to pull up some more charts while you're talking.
John, I look at when I work with my team here or there, as long as this ruler, there's an advantage. A monarchy is very different than a democracy, I say to people. And you can't look at a monarchy or a democracy or good as bad. You have to look at their characteristics here, right? Because people say, oh my goodness, no one can vote in Dubai. Isn't that terrible, per se? And then I say, that's for your democratic point of view. If you have a ruler or leadership that is looking, as was mentioned, as Dubai, basically as a business, and you're looking out with 5, 10, everything the ministers do, there's a 5, 10, 20-year plan. If you learn about Dubai, I wish we had that in New Canaan, right? Or in the state of Connecticut, because with politics, things change where it's wholesale, drop the old, the other party start anew. That doesn't happen. There's a long-term vision. That's why I find it stable. As long as this ruler and his children, there's a distinct advantage if you have a good, strong ruler. Now, look at how the world is. If you don't have a good ruler, right? Look at how things aren't. But for these guys now, they have the vision and the focus. So if I'm American, Europe, Asian, and I say I need a backup home, I want to back up to my business, I'm going to keep my business in Singapore or mainland China or in Europe or in Africa, it's very appealing to have a second home here or a third home, because you never know what's going to happen in the world. And
that's where I was going. That's where I was going.
And when you're ultra high net worth, you want to have options. So guess what? All the guys these guys are selling to have a home in New York City, right? They have a home in LA. They have a home in Singapore, right? They have multiple homes, but they have a lot more business because the infrastructure in the UAE. And I'll just take, what am I doing now? I'm deep into AI, as you know, in terms of collaboration there. That's their next oil. You have a long-term plan. So while we Americans are talking about AI, guess what? Every ministry now has to have a minister, has to have an officer of AI. That's long-term planning, right? Where it's not talk, we actually have to design it. That's the difference about this country or Dubai or the UAE, is they set a 10 or 20 year. That's why they're winning. I wish we could do that in New York or New Canaan, where we could actually agree to a 5 or 10 year plan. Can you imagine what we could get done if, politics aside, we could join hands and figure that out?
Petri, what's the prediction? Is he right? AI? It's good.
Yes, of course, that's something to look forward. But let me say also about that. I wanted to add that I'm coming from Finland, that has been voted for the, let's say, last 5 years the happiest country in the world. To be here in the Dubai, besides of these tax benefits and the security, it's really a happy place to be, where all the nations and the people from the different religions are really living together with a smile in their face. And if you add this kind of a feature to this earlier mentioned tax benefits, create the business environment and the security, where you can leave your your back in the restaurant table. You can leave the keys in your cars. You can leave your villa front door unlocked. You know, it's just a place that, you know, everybody wants to, who are really here, wants to stay here for the rest of their lives. And I'm really seeing that as my future, this place to be for forever. It's not a temporary place.
So I go there for the food. I go there because you gave me the infrastructure. You're forward looking on AI. How about education? Are they putting money into other things, or is this basically a great place to park my business and maybe a second home? I mean, is it a great place to raise my kids?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. I think, you know, we are opening, and we have already had for the past, you know, the best universities and colleges are opening their branches here in Dubai, and everybody is looking to support the education system, and because it's very important for people relocating here from the different parts of the world to take care of their next generation. So this is a really strong part of the future investments here in Dubai to keep up the education and schooling system in place.
Top U.S. restaurants are putting their brands in Dubai. How about top education brands?
Yeah. So and I'm working with NYU. Okay, they've just moved to campus there. All right. So there's a whole bunch of AI universities that have come up. And just if you or I were to move there, it's big business, the schools, the private schools, because obviously expats don't go to the UAE schools here, but it's big. So you want the USA system, they have a British system. I'm sure there's a Finnish system. There's a school for primary schools for every culture, right? Hard to get in, competitive. They pay top dollar. So from the expats that go there, you want the British system, you want the US system, you want the whatever system you want, there's a school for you.
Absolutely.
So you said it's competitive to get into. So is education expensive?
Yeah.
Well, of course, if you compare to Finland, where we have a free education, but then we pay 50% to 60% income taxes. So of course, it kind of feels we pay for the kids to have a first grade. You know, we pay maybe up from 30,000 to 40,000 per semester for the school year.
And that's in dirhams. That's not dollars. That's dirhams.
What's the dollar to this denomination?
It's I multiply times 0.28 just as a rounding, you know. So.
Oh, so when I saw those property values of 4,000, that was in dirhams.
Yes.
And I can basically take a quarter of that.
That's it. Rounded up a little bit more. That's
and $1,000 a foot for those for luxury apartments.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound so bad. That sounds less than New York.
That's what their math says. Yes.
As I said,
right.
yeah, it is. It's much more affordable.
Yeah, we are still 1/3 or 1/4 from the New York and top price.
So curious, with so many investors that are buying there, the rental market has to be cheap.
Actually, the rental market, you know, has been one of the strongest growing markets this year. You know, it's been rentals being raising this year about 18 to 25% in average. So
in price?
Yes, because there has been huge shortage of the markets on the ready to move apartments. We have quite a nice supply, expected supply on the new properties coming into the market, but also we see that 30 to 40% of those projects being delayed. So people need some places to live, to move in immediately, and that is really been driving the rental markets higher as well.
All right, so let me pull up the map again. We'll get real specific. So we talked about the most expensive Palm Jumeirah. We also talked about these islands being the hot new place. But then we got into what regular people, and we just showed examples of neighborhoods in the Springs, and these are villas and they're affordable. What kind of price am I looking at, either rental or sale price in the Springs? Is that a $1 million to $2 million market?
No, it's less than that. So I live there. You're looking at for a 2-bedroom villa for about 2.5 million dirhams, so maybe $500,000.
Okay.
Something like that. Going up, slightly more if you've got more bedrooms. Rent for that for the year probably be 40,000 US for the year.
Okay.
Something like
And
that.
if I said, okay, my company is thinking about opening in Dubai, and I don't know anything about moving to Dubai, but that sounds affordable. I think I can move there, or I could move my employees there on that basis and establish a foothold in Dubai. You have any advice for me as a company owner thinking of moving my employees and moving to Dubai? Do I need a trusted advisor in the region to help me navigate this, or can I just show up like I was showing up in Palm Beach and look around? What do I do?
Well, absolutely. Of course, I think, we must be saying that your advisor is well needed. But of course, if you want to bring your staff, employees here, it's very much important to understand, where your office will be located, and you want to be to having those homes, nearby, because the traffic can be sometimes quite horrible here in Dubai, with the growing number of habitants and highest numbers
Traffic? You told me that I could just hang out in my apartment and they bring everything to me.
Well, that's if
Yeah,
you're ultra high
exactly.
net. If you're a business guy, it's
Oh,
different.
oh.
Just understand, the one knock I'll have is that, and the guys will confirm, is traffic has exponentially gotten. If there's any knock I say, and I shouldn't say that because I'm, working with the team there, is traffic is abysmal now. It really is. And it's just a function of the success. So they address it, but you don't want to go across town, at rush hour, because you got to give a lot of time.
Is there any
Okay.
subterranean travel, like subways, anything?
Roberta, there's better than that. There's going to be driverless flying taxis in a couple of years' time.
Yes, exactly.
So we don't have to worry about underground. To be fair, there is a metro, more conventional sort of metro that's above ground, and then you got tram networks and things like that. But yeah, traffic is an issue. But that said, they're spending an awful lot of money constantly on infrastructure, and I saw actually today it was announced that sort of the largest ever yearly budget for the UAE is going to be on infrastructure,
Yep.
roadworks, drainage.
Yep.
So 3 of the most important things you could have are coming for the next calendar year.
So John, it's just going back to your question. You either get lucky, somebody like me, or you can go there very easily and figure it out, right? Your team will do research. Depends on what your business is. If you're more on the financial legal side, you show up at the DIFC per se. If you're more commercial, you could go where I am, with the Dubai Multi Commodity Center. There's a host of free zones to set your businesses up in. Whatever, there's a cluster. Whatever business you're in, there's somebody that you can reach out to and figure out how to get it done within reason.
Wow. That's great. This has been a phenomenal show. Thank you,
Sure.
guys. This has been tremendous.
So much.
I'm gonna say you're gonna find it at boroughsandburbs.com. If you're looking for this episode, you see that we're on Boroughs and Burbs, and we've got links to Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. I want to thank again Design for Freedom at Grace Farms. Check it out. That's Knight Frank. Thank you so much, Knight Frank, for your assistance today, your leadership in the region, I think I would be my first phone call would be to the Knight Frank office and say, can you connect me with some of those business groups, not only for my real estate needs, but my business needs. Again, I'm John Engel at theengelteam.com. That's my partner, Roberto, in his New York office with his sexy jazz music, showing us what it's like to work with Roberto on an average day.
John, I hope the next time we're speaking, the five of us can all get together in Dubai and, you know, come over with Eric and Roberto, and myself and Petri will take you out. We'll show you what Dubai's really like.
I want to do it.
Sounds
it's on
good.
my bucket list now.
Okay.
I'm gonna take you up on that.
We're going to hold you
Take you
to
up
it.
on that.
Hold you to it.
Yes,
This has been great. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Petri.
pleasure.
Thank you, David.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, John.
And
Take
thank
care.
you,
Bye-bye.
Eric, for pinch hitting.
You got
Like
it.
the World
It's
Series,
Yeah.
we needed a good pinch hitter.
Step in for value here, because I know anyway, good fun. Thank you, John.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Bye-bye.
Thank you, gents.
Roberto.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.